Hey guys, for this service, we're going to be brightening up this blondie, and one of her main concerns was having low maintenance hair and not having a heavy line of demarcation as it grows out. So we're going to be brightening her up with a partial foil and tipping out her ends, and look at that. She's not going to have any grow out at all. So if you want to see how we tackled this service, then keep watching. You can follow me on Instagram at Christy@the_cottage.
Oh my god, hi guys! I feel like it's been such a long time that I've recorded. Such a long time that I've worn a mask. Back to this BS again. Anyways, what we're doing for our service today. I just realized how loud that music is in the background. Lord, I pray this does not get me demonetized. Anyways, so my client that I'm doing today wants to work on going a bit blonder. She wasn't able to get in with me the last time that her hair was done, so I referred her to a gal here at the salon. So it's probably been 3 months or so since she's had her hair done. The gal did a really great job of foiling, and so she has a really soft line of grow out right in here. So she said she really liked that. She wants to go heavier blonde, but she does really like that her grow out is really soft and subtle. So we're gonna work on brightening her up today, but also at the same time, I think we're gonna do like a back comb foil. That way we kind of blend her roots in a little bit more and the grow out's a little bit softer. So she wants to get quite a bit more blonde up in this area around her face. She wants to kind of bring in more blonde underneath because it's kind of dark, but she likes the dimension that the pictures that she showed me has. So today we're going to use, as always, my favorite Schwarzkopf Blonde with 20 volume and Olaplex. And when I go back through and I paint through some of the ends, I'm probably going to use 7 volume just to be safe and try to prevent any damage. Okay, bye. Also, can you look at these lines in my forehead? I swear to the sweet heaven above, the Lord, I'm going to start getting Botox. It's driving me crazy.
All right, here's what I use for my lightener, the Schwarzkopf Blonde with 20 volume and Olaplex. And to prevent swelling, I usually spray just a little bit of water in there, and that eliminates that problem for me altogether. Here's my client's before. You can see her grow out is already really subtle, so we're just going to try to mimic that. And she said she wants to go very, very blonde, a lot more blonde, almost solid blonde through the ends would be ideal. Even though we were just doing a partial, so that's kind of hard to try and figure out. But what we're going to do is do a very soft, subtle foil up through the top and then paint a little bit heavier through the ends. That way she definitely brightens up quite a bit, but she'll still have the soft grow out that she's wanting. So to start her service, we're doing these really fine baby lights right on her hairline. This is how I do all of my foils around the face. If you guys watch my videos, then you know this is how I start off the majority of all of my services, right on the hairline. Normally, I would do a little bit more of a weave, but because she wants it pretty heavy and a lot brighter around the face, I'm doing kind of like a heavier baby light slice, if that makes sense. Like I'm just kind of weaving it really softly, but grabbing more hair to where it's almost like a really fine slice / weave, if that makes sense. I'm not really sure if it does. And I'm going to be doing 5 of these foils with minimal subsections. She really emphasized that she likes it really bright around the face and like this whole front section of around her hairline. The reason why I'm doing 5 versus the 3 that I normally do is because you can see that she has kind of, I don't know if it's bangs that's kind of growing out, but she has this really short facial framing. And if I just did like the 3 foils, then this brightness wouldn't extend through the length of her hair very much. It would just kind of stop right at that front where that shorter hair piece is. So I kind of have to go a little bit further back in the hairline to make sure that the blonde carries throughout the whole length of that front section of her hair. So that's why we're doing 5 foils in the front piece of her hairline. So now we're going to switch to the other side, and I didn't show the full application because it was kind of hard to see. So right here you can see that I'm taking a little bit more than just a weave, but I'm still weaving the hair. So it's going to be a little bit brighter, but it's going to blend still really, really nicely. So we're just going to go ahead and throw these foils in. Again, we're going to do 5, and we're going to go pretty much back to like the ear area. So we're just going to put these foils in. You can see that she's already pretty bright, but she wants to brighten up a little bit more. You just kind of have to be a little bit more cautious when you're doing that. I'm going to look for areas where her hair is really blonde already, and I'm not going to run it through the ends. But if there's some areas where she's a little bit warm, then I will later go back through and pull the bleach through the ends. But I usually save that for like the last 10 or 15 minutes just to make sure that we don't over process the hair. So we're just going to go ahead and finish putting these foils in right on the hairline. Guys, I'm still in the middle of trying to figure out my whole background music. I know a lot of you guys don't really care about the music, but I still feel like it's kind of awkward to be watching something and like not having any like just complete silence. So I appreciate you guys for watching still, even though I know it's not that big of a deal, but it is to me. I just worry about it. So I just want to throw that out there that I'm still working on trying to figure that out. And I guess just keep enjoying the video. All right, now that we're at the very front of her hairline, we're going to just go straight across. She does part her hair directly down the center, but also her hairline is not too like triangle shaped or where I might have to go on either side and meet in the middle. I'm able to go pretty much right across the middle of her forehead with our foils. So these first few foils, I'm doing a really fine weave directly on the hairline. Again, she said she wants it pretty bright, but I don't want to do anything like too chunky or too stripy where it's gonna grow out really harshly. So these first few foils, we're just gonna do a really fine weave, 2 foils back to back with no subsection. So for this section right here, I just kind of did a weave as I grabbed this whole piece right here. So that's going to help it blend a little bit more, not just be like a straight across subsection. I'm going to back comb it, and this is going to help create a little bit more of a shadow or a softer root area. And I'm going to still foil directly up to the scalp, but that back comb is going to help minimize that line of demarcation as it grows out. So we're going to do a little bit heavier of a blonde piece right there. That's because she does want it a little bit brighter right on the face. Those first two foils that we did are going to help soften it when she pulls her hair back and everything, but that last foil that we did is going to add that extra bit of brightness that she wants. So to go down her part, I'm kind of doing a little bit of a zigzag, and that's going to help ensure that no matter where she flips her hair on either side, she's going to have an equal amount of brightness. I know I've talked about this before in my videos, where if you part the hair exactly where they part their hair at, even if somebody parts their hair straight down the middle, it doesn't always fall in the exact same spot, or the same exact hairs fall in the exact same spot every time. So I'm afraid that like if I take right off of her part and then I have a subsection, or I go onto my other side of her hair and do subsection, that she might potentially part her hair might fall in one area, and some of the hairs that are more blonde fall on one side than the other side. So if I do a little bit more of a zigzag, then that kind of ensures that no matter where in that like probably inch zigzag that I'm doing, wherever her hair falls, I'm going to have equal distribution of the brightness. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if that's confusing or not. So, I think that really helps get a better blend, and you'll see at the end that you can almost not even see where her foils are. Everything, she just looks nice and bright, but everything just blends really, really nicely. So for this whole top section, I'm not really going to be taking a subsection. I'm basically just going to be weaving out little pieces and clipping it to the side. So I'm going to go through, and for this whole top section, I'm going to like grabbing the hair, back combing it and weaving it, and that's going to ensure that we still are doing like a partial foil. She's still going to have a lot of brightness, but it's going to blend a lot better into her roots. So you'll see that we're back combing it right now, and these aren't like super thin fine sections that I'm taking. You can see that this isn't like a baby light. This is pretty much like a standard weave. Some like directly on her hairline, it was more of a finer baby light piece that I was doing because I wanted to make sure that it was, you know, not going to be too heavy or anything. But these foils here are a little bit heavier of a weave, and that's going to make sure that everything's a little bit brighter, but the brightness is going to fall kind of more underneath, so that way that also helps prevent too heavy of grow out. So we're just going to finish up this side here. Again, we're just doing a partial, so we're not going too far down the side of the head, just really working on the mohawk section, and we're going to finish throwing these last few foils in on this side. You guys can see here that I'm trying to be really cautious of not running the bleach through the ends. So I'm going to pick up any of these little brown pieces that we're seeing and run the bleach through the ends there, just kind of paint through those little sections. But then the rest of the hair I'm pulling to the side, and that's going to help prevent any damage or breakage. I know there's always a risk when you're doing blonde, but just try your hardest to make sure you're keeping the integrity of the hair and not overlapping when possible. All right, so that does it for this side. So we're now going to move over to the next section and start foiling over there. So you can see I'm just taking a small weave. You can see a little bit better on this side, I think, than the other side. And we're just going to back comb it. And again, some of this hair is coming from the other section of the hair and from the other side of the part and flipping over onto the side, so that way when her hair is all combed out and everything's just gonna blend really nicely. I feel like that's one of the things that people message me about is they have a really hard time getting a really good blend or blending the hair out when they do some of these services. And I feel like if you're incorporating like a zigzag sectioning, back combing, feathering up, even here I'm foiling all the way up to the scalp, and you'll be able to see at the very end how really soft the color is and how much the blonde blends really nicely. So I feel like if you do all of those things, then you should give yourself a really good blend and not have a heavy line of demarcation as the hair grows out or anything, or have any splotchiness or heavy lines in the hair or anything. I also don't do a lot of root shadows. A lot of people will comment in some of the videos and they'll ask me if I did a root shadow or not. And the truth is, if I'm not showing you in the video, then I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do a root shadow and not show that part of the service. I don't like, I know a lot of people would just go through and do like a regular basic partial foil, and then because they want to soften the root up, then they'll go through and add a root shadow just to kind of eliminate those foil lines. But for me personally, I really don't like, I will do a root shadow if I absolutely have to. Sometimes we don't always get the perfect blend, so sometimes you do have to go in there and shadow it out a little bit more. I try not to have to do that though, because you already lighten the hair and then you're gonna like darken it back down, and then eventually when they come back in, it's either going to, no matter how much you try to have like a cooler root shadow, color generally always turns warm. So when they come in, and this has happened in the past where I've done a root shadow, they come in and now they're left with like a level 8 warm shadow. So then I'm going to have to go back through and try to either bleach through it again or try to calm it down. Or maybe they don't want to do a root shadow, but now they're left with this like warm tint in the hair. Or a week or two later, after the toner kind of starts fading, it's left a little bit warmer on the hair. And so I feel like it looks really pretty when they first get it done. But generally, I feel like, as the month goes by or whatever, that they're now like, oh, when they come in for their next service, I didn't like how the root shadow faded and it went kind of warm. So I try to prevent myself from having to do a root shadow as much as possible. And by going through and kind of, weaving the hair, back combing it, doing a zigzag parting, all of that stuff, I feel like that really helps get the best blend possible, and that kind of already creates a little bit more of a shadow on its own to where I don't have to add that to my application or my service. So that's just something to keep in mind. I know it probably is a lot faster because you don't have to go back through and do like the back combing. You don't have to worry about combing it out or anything. But for me personally, I just feel like this is the best result. There's nothing that's like going to be a better root shadow than what their natural hair will provide. So that's why I kind of like going about the service this way. If somebody wants to do a little bit darker of a root shadow, then I guess that's what we have to do. But generally, I like to just use their own hair to make the root shadow without having to go through and actually apply it. Just when we comb the back comb out, that will kind of create the shadow in itself. And now we're at the back of the head, so we're just gonna throw in a few of these little foils left. And this is something that you guys should be doing, is these little fine little foils that we're doing right here. This one, it's like 2 little strands of hair. But if I would left that behind, then she'd have this really dark piece that didn't blend, and it would kind of be too dark in comparison to the rest of her hair. So making sure that you're paying attention to the fine details like that is really going to set you apart from somebody else that might be too lazy to just do that one extra little foil. So always be sure that you're taking your time to do the best service that you can and making sure that the hair has nice balance and evenness. That way there's not like, you know, dark holes in the head where you skipped out on throwing a foil in or whatever. So we're just going to finish up these last few little foils in the back, and then we're going to start actually throwing a few foils in at the nape of the neck, because that's one thing that she said is that she feels like when she pulls her hair up that her hair is getting too dark underneath. So we're just going to throw some foils back in that section too. All right, because we're not doing it too heavy down here and we're really supposed to just be doing a partial foil, I'm not going to go too heavy on the hairline. I'm just going to go kind of one directly across the bottom at the nape of the neck, and then I'm going to kind of create like a triangle shape with my foils, because after my application of this one, my next ones are going to be more diagonal up the sides of the head, and that's going to help kind of cover the hair that's on the sides of her neck. The bottom of the neck is covered, so when she pulls her hair back, she should have a little bit more brightness in that whole bottom section that she should be a little bit happier with. So here you can see I'm just kind of doing a diagonal section, and that's going to kind of create like a soft triangle with that bottom one that we just did, and then now these top ones that are kind of going up at a triangle diagonal section. So, and they're meeting in the center, so that's going to give her nice coverage, but it's back combed, so it's still not going to be a heavy grow out or anything. Everything's going to blend really nicely with the rest of her hair. So we're just going to throw in this last little foil, top off those two diagonal pieces, making that triangle section. That's just going to give her nice coverage throughout. And you can see like this isn't a really fine weave. This is a pretty nice thick piece of hair that we're doing, but we're back combing it, so everything's still gonna blend really nicely. This is just gonna help give her that extra brightness that she wants. So these are the last few foils that we're throwing in at the nape of the neck, and then we're gonna go through and start painting through the ends. So I'm starting here in these back corners because this is where she has a lot of dimension in the hair, because she doesn't really ever do anything more than a partial foil, she said. So I'm going to go through where these little areas are here, where it's kind of too dark now for what she's wanting. And we're just going to do some balayage pieces to try and brighten these up. The pictures that she showed me has a lot of dimension in the hair still, but I feel like if I didn't go through and add these little pieces here, then this might be too dark in the hair. So we're just going to go through these little dark sections that she has and brighten them up just a little bit more. You can see underneath the hair from that section that I just grabbed that she's still going to have a lot of her natural in there. So she's still going to have quite a bit of dimension in the hair. But everything that lays on top that she sees that she's going to want to be a lot brighter is that's where it's going to count where the blonde is, because we're not doing like a full or anything. So all that dimension is going to still kind of stay in the mid, like, we're kind of throwing some foils in the underneath part of their hair. We're throwing some foils in the top part of her hair. So this whole like kind of midsection underneath is going to be where her dimension is. And right now I'm going to go through, I was actually going to go through and grab the hair that's kind of the subsection between the foils. But do you ever have to like run foil or run bleach through the ends of the hair, but then you already went through and balayage through those subsections, and now it's hard to get to the foils without like tearing the your balayage, your painted ends that you did. So first I'm going to go through all of these foils, see how everything is lifting. Do I need to run any of the bleach through the ends to brighten it up to match the fresh highlights that we're doing, or does the blonde match enough? If it does, then we're going to leave it. If we need to paint some of the ends, we're going to run the bleach through the ends a little bit. And I actually am not going to grab more lightener for the ends, just because this has already been processing for long enough. So the bleach is not like a strong 20 volume anymore at this point. It's definitely a lot weaker now. So I'm confident that I can run the bleach through the ends without causing any damage or anything. So we're just going to pull the bleach through the ends wherever we need to, and then let that finish processing. And then we're going to go through and finish painting through the ends. All right, now that we have those foils taken care of and we don't have to worry about going through and disturbing them again, we can go through and do this whole section. So we're going to back comb it to make sure that everything blends really nicely, and paint up pretty high just because she wants it to be pretty blonde through the whole length of her hair, not just like the very, very tips of it or anything. So we're going to paint up as high as we can into that back comb, and everything's going to blend really nicely. So this whole top veil of her hair is going to be really nice and bright with a blended root, and then underneath is where her dimension is going to show through a little bit more. So we're just going to finish this off and paint through this section too. And I will say that this is kind of the thinner side of her hair. I realized that this section wasn't as heavy as the other one, so you kind of got to make sure, like when you're painting through the ends, that you're leaving the same amount of, or creating the same amount of dimension as either side. You don't want to leave the same amount because sometimes you can't, so you got to make sure that you're leaving enough dimension to match the other side of the head. All right, and she wanted to be really nice and bright around the face, so we're going to take these little pieces of her, I don't know, what is this, like a grown out facial framing or heavier bang or whatever. So we're gonna back comb that so it blends really nicely and paint through the ends so that it's nice and bright. All right, and now we're on to our very last section here. We're just gonna paint this little back piece right in here. And then after this, I do not like setting my clients under any form of heat. All we have in the back of the salon are some dryers, and I don't like putting my clients underneath that, especially because the heat just focuses like one forced area, either like in the very back of the hooded dryer. So I'm not opposed to going through though with a blow dryer and just, speeding up the process where we need to. So I'll basically hit it on the last two sections that we foiled to speed it up to catch up with the first section that we foiled. And then I'm definitely gonna hit the ends with the blow dryer too, since it doesn't have the heat from the scalp to help it process faster. So she sat for probably like 25 minutes, 30 minutes or so processing. And now we're gonna pull these foils out and you can see how nice and bright she got. So we're just going to go in tone now.
Hey guys, okay, so we just got done processing and I had to pull some bleach through the ends a little bit. So she's still sitting at the shampoo bowl with just a little bit of bleach on the ends. She's okay with some of the warmer tones. The pictures that she showed me had a lot of like soft golden tones in the hair. So we're not trying to go too cool or ashy. We just want to stay nice and bright. So I think to tone, I'm going to use 10 AA, 10 V, like pretty much half and half of that. Do I have a 9 in here? I have a little bit of a 9. I'm just going to do a little bit of a dash of this just because any of those warmer tones that we're trying to lift through, that will kind of help calm those down. And then like a teeny little drop of rose gold. I know it's kind of hard to see, and that's going to help prevent it from overtoning and overgrabbing and everything. So basically half and half my formulation is the 10V and 10AA, just a little smidge of the 9V, not even a quarter or anything, just really just a quick little drop, and then an immeasurable amount of the rose gold, just a few little drops of that too.
Okay, see how warm some of those tones are? It's still like stuck at a level 9. That's what adding that 9 to the formulation is going to help tone down. A lot of you guys message me like, why is my blonde not bright enough? Why is it not toning down? Sometimes you have to add a little bit of 9 to your formulation to help brighten the blonde up. Okay, so you guys can see here how nice and bright her blonde is. You really wouldn't think from that after shot from washing her hair out how gold it was and how much warmth there still was in the hair that you wouldn't think it would be such a nice bright blonde. But I swear adding that little bit of 9 to the formulation really makes a big difference. And I really started noticing my blondes look a lot brighter and more whiter when I started adding that little bit of 9. It really makes a big difference. And I'm just trying to show you guys the blend because we ran out of time for taking enough after shots. All right, so here's her before again. You can see that she has just a lot of natural, blends really good into her roots, not too heavy line of a demarcation, but she definitely wants to go a lot brighter. And here's the after. I don't like that it doesn't show how nice and bright the hair is on this side. You could see back when we were blow drying how really bright that blonde actually is. But still you can see that it blends really nicely and everything, and it has an overall brighter appearance, and you can see that dimension kind of falling through underneath. And look how good that blends in with her roots. You literally can't see where any of the foils are or anything. Everything just has like a really nice, soft, subtle appearance and a soft shadow kind of going into a brighter blonde. But all of that is just her natural hair. We didn't add a root shot or anything. That back comb really helps do a nice job. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you like this video. Here's a close-up so you can see a little bit better how the foils are. Thank you again for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.